A lot to get to in the second hour of the radio program. We're going to do what we call a Blazer double dipping of the chip. So we're going to talk Blazers here. I put a poll question, or I'm going to put a poll question up. I got to figure out how to word this. And then at 9 a.m., or 9:05 to be exact, we're going to bring on Eric Gunderson. And we'll get his thoughts on the Blazers offseason, the big Ja Morant swing as we continue to sit here on July the 6th. And if we're not going to get LeBron James a signing for the mid-level with the Blazers, which you're welcome to come to Portland, LeBron. A lot of people are wondering, what's next? Jaylen Brown is traded for what people view as almost nothing in the grand scheme of things. And then it starts an analytics conversation. It starts a value conversation. It became like 4 to 5 different, it feels like, narrative-based things that people were arguing about. And now Jaylen Brown is a 76er, and he's not a Portland Trailblazer. At one point in time, Brandon, we were the favorite to land Jaylen Brown. And I believe Philly was tied for the worst odds at one point in time in the league to land Jaylen Brown. So if the odds mean anything to you, may God have mercy on your soul. Don't read into odds. You know what the odds are saying about us right now? The odds are saying that we are the favorites to land Zach LaVine. And to that, I would just say maybe that'll be true. Maybe we'll randomly get a notification during the radio program, and some of what we talk about right now will have aged like warm milk. Why would we get Zach LaVine? He opted into his contract. I think he has a 1 year. Go look at what the deal was, but he opted into the 1 year. I think it was $49 or $50 million. Why would we do that? And what do we think we're giving Sacramento? So, I think that's the thing about the offseason. We sit here today, it's July the 6th. They traded Jeremy Grant and Chris Murray for Ja Morant. Mind blown. Everybody's mind's blown. People around the team had no idea. So you can imagine people not around the team, how much more they were blown away, right? Ja Morant into the fold. Well, surely this has to spark another move. I mean, what are you going to have, 4 point guards? 5 guards in total with Shaden? Come on, that doesn't make any sense. Well, we sit here on July the 6th, and right now the Blazers are still sitting there saying, hold my beer, because they have not made another move. Now, it feels like they're going to make another move. It's just, to what degree would you argue the move is? Is it a swing for Trey Murphy? Well, there's not a lot of noise there. And you could say, well, Sprague, the Blazers aren't a noisy team, so them operating on the quiet is kind of the norm. Agree. That goes back to Neil. That's not just a Joe Cronin thing. Neil O'Shea operated on the quiet. Even when Woj knew about it, he didn't leak it ahead of time. It just, Woj broke it. That was how that operated. But we're sitting here today on July the 6th, not having seen another move so far, and so I continue to be in the wait-and-see mode. But I was texting with people over the weekend, just like, is this really going to be it? And we'll talk with Eric Gunderson about this. Like, are we really just going to add a retread forward that we say, oh, yeah, they're fine. They're a role guy at best, like if they're even playing a good game. And this is what the roster is? So we had Jason Quick on last week. I know you guys repurposed some of the audio just as a refresher because 4 point guards being on a team seemed a little weird, a little out of sorts for what the Blazers were wanting to do. And he said this about the Blazers and their 4 point guards.
I really think they're going to go with the 4 guards. And I don't think that having those 4 guards is sustainable for a long period of time. I just think it's kind of a disservice to all 4 of them because eventually someone's going to be like, man, I want some more playing time.
Right,
you know?
Right. And that's where we sit today is they are so far telling you they want the 4 point guard thing. Now, context matters. So 7:08 a.m., you say all this, it's like, hey, by 9:30, Blazers made a trade. Trey Murphy involving fill in the blank and then picks, right? But there's a lot of people that, cover and talk about this team. If you pressed them off or even on, depending on what they say, they're not feeling like that move is happening. That, legitimately signing Matisse Thybulle could be their move. Now, maybe it's not Matisse. I'm just pulling a name out. Nobody loves bringing back their own players quite like Portland. If that's the move, if it is indeed a player like that, what are you to make of the offseason? How bizarre it's been, how out of left field it feels like it is. Like, what are you to make of the offseason if they just sign nondescript, guy who fills void, wing player that really, in the grand scheme, is not changing your circumstance in any way? It's maybe just giving you a little more roster balance and depth at best, but it's not really changing your circumstance in the West unless Ja and company can overperform what I think many people think they're going to be. Like, what would you think if that is the Blazer offseason? If there is not indeed another decent-sized move. Trey Murphy, I would say, good-sized move, right? Zach LaVine, boy, we'd have an interesting conversation about Zach LaVine. What kind of player is he to people? He's never been viewed as a certain caliber player, mainly because the destinations he's played at have not been good when he's been there. Like, I don't know where people would be at on Zach LaVine. I think it'd be a very polarizing conversation. But if it is a Matisse Thybulle, how are we going to grade what the offseason truly is?
Yeah. It's going to be hard to feel optimistic about it. It's going to feel like a lot of question marks and a lot of confusion. I think there is a slight belief that Ja Morant will be who he used to be and that this team will be a little more dynamic in that regard.
Yeah, more play creators, shot creators.
Yeah, just a lot of game.
Go to the cup guys.
Game-changing type of players.
But you know what's good to have around guys who go to the cup? These guys.
We got shooters. We got shooters. Let's go.
And right now, it doesn't feel like we got a whole lot of shooters. I mean, I don't know if Rui Hachimura is coming on down for the mid-level, if they're even going to go that direction.
Right.
Reportedly, the Lakers have told him he's not coming back, and he hasn't signed yet. I actually wonder if Rui Hachimura is kind of waiting on LeBron a little bit. Now, I'm just speculating. That's just my 2 cents thrown out. He might be one of those guys like, wherever James Jones was usually where LeBron was.
Right.
I wonder if Rui's like, can I just get a little more money than James Jones was signing for, and I'll just continue to feast off of the looks you give me? But I am wondering, like, is a Rui Hachimura in play? Shot 4 threes a game. Last 3 years, he shot 40% from three on 3.8 or 3.7, 4.2, and 3.9 3 points a game. Attempts per game. I'd love to see that be up to 5 to 6 because I think they need that kind of caliber player.
Yep.
It's going to go down as one of the more bizarre off seasons of my life if all they add is middle-of-the-road 8th, 9th, 10th guy off bench to fill roster void. Because right now, I mean, you go look at the 76ers, right, who made the Jaylen Brown trade. Well, they're becoming Blazers East. They've kind of been that. They added, I mentioned Jabari Walker was a name that the Blazers drafted not that long ago. He was in Philadelphia. I mentioned Watford earlier. He was in Philadelphia very briefly. They've just signed Ant Simons to a 2-year, $12 million deal. Great deal. You know who else they signed? Caleb Love, 2-way deal. The Philadelphia 76ers really want to be Blazers East, but they want to fill out their roster with a big, a wing, another wing, and a killer point guard. They have gone about doing it maybe slightly better than us on paper, but just one of the more bizarre off seasons of my lifetime. If their move is we've signed wing that you don't think highly of, and now we're good. We've signed guy to minimum contract, now we're good. Because the Ja, Drew, Dame, Scoot thing, it just, I haven't texted a single person who hasn't also shared the same. It's a bizarre roster fit. And look, it's one thing to say you want value in a trade, right? The Blazers are eyeing that. It's one thing to say that. That's a good value trade for the Jeremy, Chris Murray for Ja thing. I get it just in a trade vacuum. But when you're evaluating the roster itself, it's just such an interesting pivot of philosophy. Is it not? Like, if I would have told you 2 years ago, Joe Cronin, who at his press conference talks about getting bigger and longer, the league is only growing, right? You're seeing San Antonio, you're seeing Oklahoma City. They already got to the conference finals, and you're seeing both of those two teams this offseason add what? Height. They've gotten taller. San Antonio drafted 2 bigs. Oklahoma City brought in Mara from Michigan. They are valuing height and size. And the Blazers looked at everything happening after they were eliminated, and they were like, you know what we need? A lot of guards. We're going guard heavy. We're going 6'2" Dame, 6'3" Drew, 6'2" Scoot, 6 foot, 168-pound Ja, and then we're going to throw Shaden at you in any given moment. And that was their response to all of it. And it's just bizarre that if 2 years ago I told you Jaylen Brown is available for the Blazers, and look, you can argue about value and contracts. I think the league is telling us something right now, and I think a lot of people are kind of hinting at it, picking it up, and discussing it. But I think the league is absolutely telling everybody something right now about the financial aspect of salary cap stuff and apron stuff. But 2 years ago, I tell you, Jaylen Brown is available. I think everybody and their mom here is saying, like, Joe Cronin just told me it's about length, it's about wings, it's about being versatile. And you can feel however you feel about Jaylen Brown. He's certainly been a polarizing player, I think, in some regards the last couple days. But everybody is saying that we'd be trying the mix, especially if you said you had assets to play with. And that's the other part, too, is I keep coming back to they very well could flip the assets any given moment this summer. Trade deadline. That's what it's going to be. If they don't make another sizable move or a move that's going to move the needle in any way, you're going to hear the spin locally is going to be, well, the trade deadline. They're going to see how it plays out. And then trade it. Okay, so now we're going to punt on the season. Because the trade deadline's too late. You're not going to make, I think, a move that's going to shake up the whole West anyway. Not that you were with Jaylen Brown, I think, to win the West. But my point is, have you truly gotten better? Sometimes you just need to evaluate it from that perspective. Have you gotten better? And I think what's interesting is watching so far, you wanted to keep Donovan in 2. They were untouchable according to some reports. And I want to get to Blazer stuff in terms of how they viewed Jaylen. I don't know if I believe it fully, some of the reporting coming out, but very interesting where the Blazers chime in on the Jaylen Brown stuff. But also, you've gotten smaller and you've had less shooting. I don't know if is Ja going to shoot 34% this year? I don't have a lot of evidence of that. Maybe he will. Maybe he'll shock everybody. Micah Nori, according to Jason Quick's article, enamored with him at their get-together lunch where Ja drove 40 minutes and Micah Nori drove 2 hours, and they met at a restaurant, and they had a great conversation, and he feels very encouraged. And now Micah Nori is in L.A. to tell Drew Holiday, hey, man, you're a big piece of what we're doing. That's great. 4 point guards and not addressing your wing spot or your wing forward spot it's certainly a choice. And I'm sitting here on July the 6th, I'm still giving them that grace, that period of figuring out what they want to do or who they want to go get. They operate very quietly. Maybe it'll be Trey Murphy, and voila, there we go. We've solved our problem. But if it is a run it back of a forward, and that's it, and now you go into your press conference, there'll be a lot of questions from people about roster building and why is this the right direction, and is this really something you think you can go from a 7 seed in a loaded West? The Lakers might have gotten better. Time will tell. Mm-hmm. Dallas, I think, will be better just naturally with Kyrie coming back, and I think Cooper will get better. I think Utah is going to be more competitive. I don't know how much better they've got. You go down the laundry list of West teams. The only 2 teams I feel confident not better than Portland, total confidence, Utah and New Orleans. Or Sacramento, and New Orleans. That's it. Everybody else is a wild card. Phoenix maybe, but Phoenix we thought was going to be worse than us last year. They weren't. They were better on a record-wise. We just beat them in the play-in. Houston's interesting. I don't know what they're going to do with Kevin Durant. There's a lot of questions, sure, but from just an on-paper standpoint, you got smaller, you got less defensive, and you still have your shooting problems. As we sit today, July the 6th, to me, that's an issue going into the season next year where they still have time to build it out. But right now, it's are we going to do anything else? Anything of note? Because signing Matisse Thybulle, to me, doesn't do anything for you. I love Matisse Thybulle. Seems like a great dude. But how much are we counting on Matisse Thybulle? You know what I mean? So as we sit today, Brandon, I find the roster decisions fascinating, the pivot as an organization, and just where it all sits today on the 6th of July going forward. Okay, what's next?
Yeah, I'm curious how much of an influence Micah is to these decisions. I don't know if Because you think with a new coach and a new philosophy and maybe a new style that they're trying to adapt to him.
Well, did you read the quick piece?
I did, yeah.
So he has a blurb in there. He basically was like, Micah Nori's already redone the playbook.
Right.
Like he's already changing the offense according to what they just got roster-wise.
Right.
I guess in that way, I'd say I don't think he's been
So
super
he's
heavy
adjusting
involved.
to these moves is what you're saying.
Yeah, more so
I
it feels like
understand that
than
too.
them being collaborative. And, I mean, he's seemingly on a one-year deal, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of the big buzz with his contract. So, and you could just say, well, they really did the contract to keep him on the cheap. Yeah, certainly. That wouldn't shock me at all if he's here for the full 3 years. But according to that report, he had to rechange how they're going to run things, right? And he's excited about the challenge. I think he's somebody excited about his first go-around as a coach. Like, he's jonesing for this opportunity. But us on the outside looking in, we're sitting here going, how do you make the minutes work? Because right now we're sitting in this weird spot of like 5 guards? 5?
Yeah, it feels very experimental, which makes a lot of
That's
Blazer
a weird
fans.
thing to do,
Yeah,
isn't
you
it?
don't do that a
We're
lot
doing
in the NBA.
experimental stuff?
We're gonna see if this works or not. Yeah, you don't see that a lot in the NBA, so that's kind of unnerving. I think Matisse will help with the defense because that's kind of his specialty is defensively, in my opinion. He's not much of a shooter. That's kind of, at least from what I watched last season, that's kind of where his impact is.
But
is
if your
on the defensive
shooting's
end.
not great, like that's the thing I'll push back on. I remember people had got into a fit about Derrick Jones Jr. years ago. Terry Stotts wasn't playing him. And he was point blank asked, he's like, he's shooting 30%. You're playing 4-on-5. And people are like, oh my God. Like, yeah, he's good defensively. Is he so stellar that he has to play high level minutes? If Matisse plays 16 minutes or 13 minutes, but he's shooting 31%,
it's not doing a whole lot.
your defense doesn't matter a whole lot to me, man.
Yeah,
They need offense. I said this last year. I'll say it again. They need offense. And you can now say, well, there you go, Sprague. You got offense. Ja Morant, offense. Yeah,
but
you
you need
smaller.
offense that spreads around the court, not just in the backcourt, not just behind the three-point line. Like you need guys that can hit mid-range and
I think that's where I'm at.
play in the
It's like,
post as well.
It's just, yeah. I got so many questions right now, and we're still sitting in limbo of like, what else is going to be happening?